Wow, it's been a while since I've been here, and it's just absolutely beautiful to be back here. I can't believe we were able to make it. It's wonderful to see so many faces in the audience tonight.
And I'm excited to be here as well and sharing a little bit about my stories. Again, my name is Russ Stein. I grew up in New York City, have moved all over the place since then, and have landed in San Francisco.
And I was born in Hong Kong, third generation Hong Kong, and business owners, and associated with restaurants. And I have a deaf brother, and basically what happened is there was a lot of inspiration of what I saw my parents do, specifically my father, and I thought, let's take it away. So we'd like to talk a little bit about how Masseria came to be. There's many, many different steps in how this was successfully established. It required 4 important things that we're going to discuss and talk about this evening. I'm curious, has anybody actually touched the restaurant or been there to visit? Wow, there's a lot of people. Thank you so much for coming and supporting us. That's great. I'm wondering if people are interested in seeing this established in Rochester. Okay, we'll consider it. Who has not yet seen the restaurant? I would like to give you a little bit of a visual of what this restaurant looks like. So we'll show some pictures. When you're first establishing a business, it's essential to have a concept. And there's different ways to be able to set up a concept and see it come to fruition. You really need to be open to change and figure out how to take that concept to become an establishment. We had a dream of establishing a restaurant, and this was part of the process.
Why a restaurant? What do you think? Restaurants have a high turnover. 90% of them close. So
Yeah.
why a restaurant?
That truly was his reaction. He was a little apprehensive. But I have a dream, and I didn't want to give up. So I understood that he was apprehensive, but I thought, let's keep going. Let's give this a whirl. So with many years of input and research and working together, I knew with the background of my family's restaurant that that I could convince him. And again, we established a restaurant in San Fran, and we thought, okay, this is a little bit different from previous experience with the restaurant that we had with the family tradition, specifically with pizza. But I love seeing how people interact and how they get exposed to a variety of different cultures. And I thought, okay, let me explain it to Russ here. And I slowly, with time, was able to convince him. And truly what happened is we just figured out through life and figured out the timing of what would work. So we worked on this, basically. It wasn't like we did this overnight. We had a variety of situations that popped up that interfered, but life is short. And we looked at each other and said, you know what? Let's give it a whirl and let's just do it. And Russ was on board, and I'm like, yes, let's do this indeed. So we just started at the first step, figuring out what is the concept. Russ, take it away.
Well, now hold on a minute. Before we really started getting going on this, we had to think about what it was that we wanted to do. We did all of our research. We looked at a 360-degree frozen yogurt type concept and how they measure that out by weight, and it's all paid on a weight basis. And so one night we sat down, we were talking to each other, and now of course my favorite food is pizza, so I could eat it every day, so why not a pizza restaurant? And we were thinking about, why don't we do more along those lines? I mean, not necessarily yogurt. I mean, nothing against yogurt. I know there's a lot of people out there that love yogurt. But I can't imagine being so excited about producing yogurt, having that passion for it that I would need to have in order to do this. And now, we had already decided, I had conceded the point that we would do a restaurant, but I needed to have a little concession on her part as well, and that became pizza.
Right, and with Russ's background in New York, I understood, there's pizza shops all over the place, restaurants left and right. So we agreed, okay, let's take it with pizza. And we've tried to figure out at that point in time, would we do like a Neapolitan approach, a wooden stove incorporated? Do we want to incorporate wine? Like, we just started throwing out ideas. And truly what happened is we flew to Italy. And that's where I brought my mom. And the reasoning is Italy doesn't have a lot of sign language interpreters, as maybe they're not aware. But with Mom, we were able to jump around the country and be exposed to a variety of different environments that were showing different styles of pizza. And with that knowledge and research, we flew back and we tried to test it out, as you would say, test the waters.
She was jet-lagged after flying back, and I was all excited about this. Yeah, here I am with this great big grin. I'm all ready to make this, and I bit into it and I went, wow, I can make this with my own hands. And I was thinking, well, if we're going to do this, we got to have the right oven. What do you think the maximum temperature is for your ovens? What do you think? We have 500, 500, 500, maybe a 550. But what is the temperature that we need to cook our pizzas? Yes, 800 to 900 degrees. Our perfect pizza temperature is 850. Now, this is not on a dial that you just turn to get the right temp. No, it takes time. You have to struggle with this friggin' fire to get the temperature just right. But you want happy customers. Happy customers are not easy. So we worked with that fire.
So based off the concept, we at least were able to establish that first step. We were moving forward.
So starting with the concept. But we also know that we need financial support. We can't walk into a bank and say, hey, I got some dough here. Come on, work with me, right? You can't do that. You can't just use the pizza dough. You have to think about the entirety, the big picture, and all the small details. You have to have that all ready and all your ducks in a row. Get the entire structure tested out. And the testing phase, the prototyping phase, was a little difficult because, again, we had this learning curve. Do you just build a brick oven from scratch and get it done perfectly? No. You have to have this learning curve. How do I get that temperature right every single time? This time it's 300. Next time it's 4. Then it's 6. Then finally you figure it out and the world is your oyster. So I started off and thinking, oh, well, this is a good idea. Maybe we'll just invite people over to start testing this and see how it goes. But to be honest, and we have to be honest about this, one of our pizzas is Peking duck. Think about that. She's Asian. We wanted to have something that was a little in line with that, but I'm thinking, no, this is going to be an epic fail. But we had to have people testing it, and we had to learn how to make the right sauce to go with this. And that's where we had our test group. And as soon as we felt confident in that, then we rose to the challenge of gaining our financial support. We found those investors. Now, can I say, can I get $300,000 from you tonight? Who's going to be in on this? If I just tell you
Winner.
about how great this, thank you. I got somebody in the back to volunteer for me. But we know it takes money. We invested our own funds. This is true. But we were working for the longest time. And we had been members of Wells Fargo for 27 years. And we just don't immediately go in and get this money. No, you still have to have that market plan. You still have to have that business plan. And you walk in with all your books, and you sit down, and before they even look at it, they say, what do you want? And we say a restaurant, and they just kind of looked at you.
And we said, yeah, we want to open a restaurant. And the immediate response was no. And they didn't even look at our marketing plan. And they said, look, 60 to 70% of restaurants will fail. So if you're going to borrow from us, it's a high risk scenario for us. And so after that, we're like, okay, fine, we'll go to a different bank. And we got the same response from that bank too. And nobody was looking at the marketing plans. So we were trying to figure out how can we get around this block. It was quite depressing and discouraging. So with some ideas, what we decided to do is host kind of like a party. It was an invitational welcoming party. And our goal here was come meet me and my husband. Let us show you what we have, what we want, envision, and talk with us. And then maybe with your background and your interest and your experience, you'll be interested in helping us. So we brought forward a variety of our pizzas, let them test the items, and we described what was going on. We're like, this is Peking duck. And so many people loved it. They'd never even seen or heard of this concept before. And a lot of people became interested. And so it was through us coming up with an alternative strategy to get around this barrier of getting money. We were able to find finances. And based off of that, we were able to go back to the bank and say, look, we have this amount already promised as an investment. We have people that are willing to back us. And what happened is we had full 100% control because we didn't have to actually go to the bank with its entirety to get the full amount. We didn't have to sacrifice everything and put everything on the line because we had the backing with those individuals.
Keep in mind that when it comes to the finances, people give you money based on a percentage. And if you're going to do a 60%, what do you think? Is that good? Is that what you want to give up? Or do you want a 2.15% interest? What is the interest rate? How much are you willing to give up? If you want 60% for the guarantee, or what do you want? How is this going? You could have the best business in the world, but you have to pay on those loans. And all of this takes an agreement with your lenders. They need to be guaranteed that they will get that money back if something goes wrong. And so you set up this 5-year agreement or this 3-year agreement. And now keep in mind, we are a deaf business. We are a deaf-owned, deaf-sponsored, deaf-supported business. And we were able to establish these business partners who were able to give us the funds we needed. So we finally had the money. But what about the location? Now, San Francisco's really cheap, right? Oh, no, I see people. Help me out here. Nod your heads. Yeah, no. It's extremely expensive to have property there. And we had to find a location that fit our projected income. We wanted to have this corner lot with a roof where we could have a skyline and a fire and everything. But we knew that wasn't going to work. So we had to change that vision to find a place we could afford. Now, we found this location, and it had been renovated a little bit already. So it was basically a turnkey. And this is what we walked into. You see the brown background? Easy to sign in. So, turn it back over.
Right. So upon arrival, we had this grandiose vision, and obviously we want our clientele to involve a lot of deaf individuals. We want this environment to be friendly. Upon arrival, we knew we needed to do a lot of renovation. We needed to run around and figure out what we needed to do to make it deaf friendly. Our vision was to incorporate everybody. And running a restaurant, that was important, but we also knew that this was going to cause a lot of noise and it was going to have an impact on our neighbors that were down the street. But we knew that this was something that we had to do. So it took about 3 months' time, planning, figuring out the budget, and putting this into implementation. And so based off of different situations, we had to figure out how to approach things and what we could control versus what we couldn't. And a lot of the community said, no, we didn't want to have the gas aspect changed, but we're like, look, this is what we need to do, because within the area, we were advertising the pizza area to be, wood burning and so forth, unique. And so within this environment, it was key turn ready, but it wasn't ready for what we envisioned it and what we needed. So close to becoming ready, we didn't get approved. We had an awning that was kind of at the front of the area of the building, and it kind of held back some of our approval.
Now, if you think about the hoods that most kitchen ovens have, that hood, of course, didn't fall in line with what we were looking for as far as the aesthetics go. We wanted to be able to have something where we could control the heat, and the heat wasn't going straight up that hood, which means we needed to have some curves. And again, think about that temperature that we were looking for. And so it was very important that we have more of a rounded structure. We needed something that was hot, but it also burned dry wood. And so, I'm learning a lot tonight. People are saying, oh, we can put some butter on there, it can melt, no, whatever. But we needed to change the structure of it some. And that was $44,000 just to build the oven that we needed to allow the appropriate airflow to get the pizza the way we wanted it. And then there was a window. We needed to think about this. If you think about this hall, it's a little small, but we needed to have these sight lines. We needed to see each other. Oh, I want to add one thing. One of the lessons that we learned, when you open a business, always negotiate for 6 months free rent. You can't do that after the fact. You have to do it in advance. Because remember, you've borrowed money, you have to pay them back. But you might be able to have some flexibility on your rent aspect of things. So every time we got any money, we were thinking, oh, we've got some, but now we are basically throwing it away because we have to pay off of all of our debtors and whatnot. So it was part of the learning process, but you need to negotiate the rent for the first 6 months or so.
All the income that was coming in was immediately turning around and buying more materials, products, as well as turning around and paying back our lenders. And their cash flow, we didn't have a high pile amount building up because we needed to turn around and pay certain things. So why would we need cash on hand? Anybody have an idea? Taxes, fees, no.
I have an answer. Do you?
You know the answer. Well, we need the cash flow to be able to have a credit history, to be able to have that impact things moving forward. So if we have cash available, oh my God, can you imagine in entirety all of the things that can be bought, the food, the equipment, everything? So they would ask, how long would your cash flow last? And we're like, okay, 3 months and possibly 6 months. And so based off of that had an impact on the negotiation of what was coming down the pipeline with our vendors as well as renters. So with the cash, again, we had to figure out, okay, based off our lenders, we need to get sure that we have the equipment and everything needed, pay the staff, get everything up and running, and the staff, of course, upon arrival were needing to be trained. And every 2 weeks, we had to turn around and pay them because they're obviously working and need to be able to make an income. And so truly, upon opening, it was the first month of the first year we opened up, and it was, does anybody know what month it was, or the year? December 2011, thank you, yes. So December That was about what, 7, 8 years ago? Goodness gracious, the journey we have gone. It's amazing to look back and see it.
Now, why do you think we chose this name, Masseria? Can anyone guess why this name? Okay. Hold on, but you don't get to guess. Just wondering what other people think. Why?
It was Melody's favorite.
No. Why? Why?
Because Maz and the double Z is from pizza. I don't know why the M-O though.
All right, it's really simple. Stand up.
So M-O-Z-Z for mozzarella and then Ria for pizzeria.
Exactly. Remember, I love mozzarella cheese. I could eat it every day of the year. Give me a pound, it's gone. I love it. It is the most amazing thing in the world. I go into Wegmans, I go into anywhere, I see mozzarella cheese, that's the first thing I want. I want to buy this, I want this, but this is mine. Just all for me. I just want it. I love it. Now making a pizza. Think about it. You have to mix the hot and the colder the cheese, the warmer the pizza, that hot-cold blend. Oh my God, it's just fabulous. I just crave that all the time. Y'all are looking at me like I'm nuts, but you get it, right? You all get it. So, and then pizzerias in New York are everywhere. So, mozzarella, pizzeria, mozzarella. And this is the dream or the brand, the name that I never would have come up with before, but that's what we got to. So this slide shows your vision becomes reality. Just a month or two ago, I found an old hard drive, and it showed the beginnings of the interviews that we had with people that were coming in and all of our friends and everything. Oh, it was so amazing. And they kept saying, well, what is the name of this? What is the name of it? And there was these little kids. And, thinking, he's this way, I'm this way. And so, anyway, just trying to get through that about a kid or an adult or what. But there was this cute little child. And he said, mozzarella. And everybody went, yeah. And I just kind of looked over at her and went, it's going to happen. Up until then, we'd always just kind of been, yeah, maybe. But this was that moment in time where we actually knew it was coming together. This is it, that moment when all of our work is paying off. And it's really important to have somebody who is the heart of your business. And she really is. She's really the heart of this business. And so when we saw that, we thought the mozzarella and the pizzeria and blended them together, and here we are, just like she and I. It's this beautiful little dance.
The philosophy, how are we going to figure this out? How are we going to, okay, we're going to have a wood-burning oven, okay, but a lot of pizzerias already had that too. So what are we going to do that's different? And what are we going to do to make our niche unique being known? So what we decided was to be creative with our Asian influence with the Neapolitan combination. And based off of that, we were welcoming many a culture, many a people from the Asian background as well as the Italian background to come enjoy the food philosophy we were establishing. This pizza, as you see here, is the Peking duck. And many people come in and look at it and they're like, I don't know about this, never seen it before. They try it. You've heard of the margarita pizza. Many people tend to go towards that. But many people all around will be able to see comparisons based off of ours and other restaurants. They're going to see differences within the taste. So what we try to do always is to have people, when they come here, experience a new thing, not something that they've had elsewhere. And so that's how we were able to take off and find our niche. Our menu, believe it or not, the extensive amount of things that we provide, they are all fresh. Our restaurant is small. It's limited in its space for refrigeration. However, every day we have deliveries coming, as well as, except for Sundays, which are days off, but everything is arriving every day fresh. We have pages of what we have, but at the same time, with the limited amount of supplies that we order, we are able to make a grandiose amount of different options provided to you. And you can see the menu is quite extensive. But again, everything that's arriving is fresh. We have a quick turnaround in the hopes that we don't have anything expire.
Okay, think about Denny's. Think about the restaurant Denny's. We all know what they are. They have these huge walk-in refrigerators for all of their products. And if you buy in bulk, it's cheaper, right? But we need to think about the FIFO aspect of things. Do you remember what that means? FIFO, first in, first out. So that means you have to constantly be rotating things in the refrigerator. But that means that the things that are there for a while are losing their quality, right? And if nobody follows that system, your quality is slowly going to degrade. And then you will lose your customers. You have to think about the entire step process of making your product and the impacts that it will have, the impacts on your bottom line, the impacts towards your customers.
Yeah, this was a new experience for us. We would buy things. We had the VPN Association of Vera Pizzeria Napolitan, which oversaw our credentials. And so when we went to Italy, we were able to see how they were able to make their pizza in a variety of ways. So we kind of followed that. But with the certification, we had stipulations we were required to follow. And we knew things weren't going to be completely perfect, but it required a lot of time and training. And with that, we had 4 people working on the pizzerias, coming up with a variety of different styles and tastes. And with confidence, we were able to see and get that approval for the VPN to go forward. Now, what happened is we would send in videos of how we were making our product. And what happened is we were very lucky because we were able to show what we were doing in a technological fashion, and then we were able to get our approval. And the process sometimes can be very slow. It's a very meticulous process. And so we were able to keep showing our product and as each time that we made something new to be able to see if it would be approved and certified in the North American track. And what's interesting is this group is established in Sicily, and so they were able to analyze, see our things, give us feedback, send it back to us as we were here in the States, and then we were able to communicate at a distance back to them. So we were able to get that feedback and once again, go back to the kitchen, experiment again, try to tweak it, send it back. So it was quite a bit of a long process, and finally we got the approval and the go-ahead. Based off of that with North America, the president here, he came down and basically gave us the certification. And guess what happened? Mozzarella was the very first one, the first certified in the world in North America. We are honored with that. That was specifically deaf-owned.
That VPN certification is something. I don't know if you've traveled, we traveled to Naples. Anyway,
I can't remember.
We had gone out, and the pizza there is amazing. But it's amazing because everything is homegrown, locally sourced. And we were able, when we traveled, to go to the oldest pizzeria. It is the oldest one in the world, and it has this certification. Certified before I was even born. I mean, but they have all these different options. So I just remember when I went in, and it doesn't matter where you go in the world, wherever you walk in, my eyes are always going to catch the word pizza. It doesn't matter where I'm going. I'm walking down the street, pizza, boom, there it is on the sign. All of these signs saying pizza. And so here's this one, I'm walking down the street, And she's, of course, saying, come on, come on. I mean, as a kid, I'm going, but I'm going. No, come on. There was one little side street. You're on the one street, and then you come to that V in the road. Do you go to the left? Do you go to the right? Which way are you going? This one has two. There was this one man that was coming up this way, and he was saying, oh, hey, how are you? You need to go to the Pizza Expo in Las Vegas. Just got to come and hang out. You, the two of you are going to have so much fun. You got to go. So, of course. Oh, and there's lots of pizza involved, too, which is the greatest thing in the world. So we got to eat all of that. But there's all of these different languages that are presented as well. And the gentleman that we met is the father of the vice president of VPN. And we just happened to run into them. You think about the structure of who's number one and who's number two. This is what you're going to see out there. And you don't always know what you're going to be ordering, but you got to go in and you got to eat at all of these places. So we sat down, and I'll teach you a little bit of Italian sign here. This is the sign for pizza. So if you have the English to Italian to ASL is how this communication was all happening that night. They said, you have to go off to this celebration, what is it?
I think it's over a 100-year-old restaurant.
Something like that. And we went, sure. So, of course, I'm there in my tourist thing. I got my backpack with me because, we're out and about. I was wearing my Masseria shirt. They kept bringing out the food. The media was all there as well, so it's hard to understand what's going on with all these different languages that are being spoken. I kept getting this tap. My daughter's there saying, they're talking about you, they're talking about you. Thinking, what? And they're taking all these pictures of the pizzas. And then they were interviewing for the newspaper. We were in their newspaper. I'm thinking, wow, all just because we were going down this street. The point is that we develop these partnerships, and you never know where they're going to take you. And so our ability to go and support these activities in Italy is reflected by their ability to support us here.
Yeah, so with VPN and the relationship we were able to establish, this support has been universal in how we were able to go forward and make our dream come true.
One of my strongest beliefs is that, well, my father owned a business, watch repair, and I'm the second generation business owner in my family who is deaf. And I want that opportunity to support the deaf community. We have hired a mixture of people who are and are not deaf to work in our restaurants. We want people to be able to learn to sign and communicate directly with us and not have to rely on interpreters. But we're thinking about, if we're doing that, what about the deaf people? Where's the jobs for them? They need to be able to find employment. And we all know that if something happens and an individual who is deaf gets laid off, it's harder for them to go and find another job. And if they quit, where do they go? So we were talking about that, and we decided to change our philosophy a bit.
There's many people who are deaf who've never had the opportunity to work, and so we were considering them in our philosophy. We knew that a lot of individuals in our community wanted and needed these opportunities, and we had the means to be able to provide that. Some who came to us had never worked before and were like, our door is open. This is what we're all about. Let us train you. And really, it was interesting because all the training, all the cooking, they learned quickly, they picked it up, and they started to have that identity, and they were able to be successful. And it was great because it just kept going onward throughout You saw people leave and come back. You saw the skills of people going into the environment increase. Some jobs were easier, some were harder, but it required a lot of training, hands-on, patience, and a lot of people just giving it their all. And again, you saw people who had never had any experience become team leaders, and we're very proud of everybody who's been a part of our team. We've been very blessed to have them part of this, and where they go from here, the opportunities are endless.
I think each and every one of us has a responsibility to help others find employment. We have to see this as a community. It's a two-way street. What helps you grow helps us grow. I'm tired of seeing almost that stay out of my way mentality. No, I challenge you, do this together. Now, think about this. We all have different backgrounds. We grew up in different educational environments, in different schools, in different parts of the country. And each of us has had a different experience growing up. But we all have to figure out different ways. We figured out different ways to communicate. Some of us learned from the get-go. Some of us were punished when we were younger for using sign. Some of us didn't sign until we were adults. But we need to show them, how do we understand it? I mean, think about communicating. When you think about all the equipment and the time that we took to install all of this equipment, it took hours and hours, and we had to write it all out, and people would be explaining it to me, and I didn't understand it. I mean, I could read, but it was like French to me. I don't understand what any of this vocabulary is. And I kept saying, show me. And they would say, I can't show you. And I would say, no, you need to show me. That's how I'm going to learn. First, show me, then explain. Most people want to explain and then maybe show you. No, show me first. Show me what it looks like to bake a wood-fired pizza. Then I will understand what you're trying to explain to me. People want to give the explanation first, but you don't understand it. We need to understand the application, then the description. And this is one of the things that I'm proud of, the CPA. Ken Levinson, Board of Trustees for Gallaudet University for 19 years. He was one of the first deaf clients we had. And he has a deaf-owned bank in Wisconsin. And he was the first supporter for deaf clients. And so what goes around comes around. You start that, throw that pebble out there and watch the ripple effect take place. And Scott Atkins, we reached out to him to get some resources, to connection to new deaf clients, to connect to other deaf clients. You know what I mean? This is what's going to happen. It's going to make a big difference, and it already has. But that's the reason that I am in complete support of the deaf community philosophy. It's really when people say, well, you know, but. No, I want you. I want people to be there. And I'm lucky, well, we're lucky that we have a place that we can do this. But maybe you can also set up one of those places.
When running a business, there's always challenges that occur. Basically, with like our business plan, we developed a 5-year plan, and at that time, it was in San Francisco. Minimum wage was about $8 or $9 at the time, and so obviously that's been going up over time, and so that put a little bit of a wrench in the plan because we had to alter it. And basically what we did is we decided, you know what, let's do $15 an hour for this the city of San Francisco. So it was very aggressive, and we're seeing that. And what do we do? How do we make and meet these demands? Because we didn't want that to be the reason why the business shut down. So we had to think of different things that we had to do. We had to expand our business and figure out how we're going to pull people in and still be able to provide our wages to our employees without having the negative impact of having to raise the prices. So, 2014, this is our Masseria Trolley. It's a cable car. A lot of people are fascinated with this. It's perfect in San Francisco. And within this cable car, there's actually a wood-burning stove, and it travels all around to a variety of different stops as well as different states. The very first time we traveled, many different deaf communities came out, and it was great because they had additional interest in figuring out how they could do this themselves. A lot of these people were saying they couldn't find work because they couldn't communicate with the hearing employees or employers. And so we ran into a lot of that with different deaf communities throughout the country. And this was giving some people some inspiration on how they themselves could turn around and make an own business themselves. Now, the first one we owned, it was unexpected how many clients loved the fact that our trolley car was actually a trolley car. But then they were wanting to book us for special events, and so we had to expand to a food truck, and this is what that looked like in 2016.
Remember how we talked about the back and the oven that we had in our backyard? And people say, well, what about, isn't this a waste of money? I'm like, no, 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 no. You learn so much by doing. Don't ever think about, is this a waste of money or not? Just do it. Hit the gas, man, take off. We thought about, well, what if we just expand on our mobile unit, and we took that oven and stuck it on a trailer. But of course, then it was sort of bouncing down the road, and kind of learned something. Well, can't drive too quick because this oven is all the weight back there on the trailer, and it's bouncing all over the place. And so then we also had to think about where it was swaying behind, how much weight. I didn't even realize that if you got that trailer back behind you with so much weight, if you're driving down the road, it can start swaying. But then people started saying, well, come on, we want you for this wedding. And we were thinking, okay, well, we could do 2. This is a small oven. We're only going to be able to get 2 at a time kind of thing. And we want to satisfy our customers. So how are we going to make enough? At some of these festivals, how are we going to make enough fast enough? In one festival, took a lot of planning, but one festival you can earn a lot of money. Thinking about how are we going to do this? We've got to get something that's a little bigger. Now remember, we had that trailer, but we needed something bigger. We needed something that could support the weight of this. And we're thinking, well, who are we going to call? What are we going to do? And so we called on one, but it had already sold, and we're just thinking, well, how are we going to do this? We don't want something that's only a little bigger. We want something that's drastically bigger. So we were thinking about maybe a camper trailer or something that we can repaint or change or get rid of a lot of the weight, maybe the refrigerator or some other things, because we're not going to be needing those so much. So maybe that was a way around it. And it was a lot harder than it actually looked. So we thought about, rather than the trailer, let's go for something else. We want something that's very pleasing on the eye. We want something, the trolley put us on the map. People recognized it wherever we went, but we want something that people would recognize. And so, what about Louisiana? So we're driving around, and you see the post and the tag, and people are taking photos of the license plate as we're driving. And we're thinking, what? Why are you doing this? And then we realized that it was the truck. And then we were thinking that it could hold 250 pre-made dough. And so we were thinking the new one can do 900. So come on, that's a lot more. But we have to make these business decisions. So we sold the littler one, and we sold it to a deaf-owned business. Again, selling it back to the deaf community, giving them the chance to do for themselves. Now, they're not going to be using it for pizza, they're using it for a different concept, but at the same point, we sold it to them to help them out, and then we got our new mobile unit. So you see this chain of events that leads us to the nation's first deaf-led social venture fund. Are we in the CSD building? No, that's around the corner. Okay, so the CSD building has decided, the owners of the CSD building have decided to partner with us to expand Masseria around the country. What do you think? Would you like, where's the next one going? DC, you are correct. In the spring, we're expecting to open a restaurant in DC. Finding a new place is always a challenge. Always a challenge. Remember we were talking about the oven and the oven vent and how it was a challenge to get that shape just right and everything else? Well, now we're in a different location, different challenge. It's larger than our current restaurant. It's double the size, meaning we need 2 vents, not 1. We have 2 ovens, 2 vents. And these are not going to be designed the same way as we did in San Francisco, so we need to tweak that and figure out a way to find a solution.
A lot of vents tend to be used with gas formation in a lot of restaurants, but this is something that we don't do. We use a vent situation, so if we have a gas setup within the restaurant, we're going to have it separate from the actual pizza baking area.
In DC, it's going to be on 13th and H, down by the farmer's market, that same street where the farmer's market is. Across the street, there is a venue where they host a lot of events. So it'll be really interesting. We have a corner unit, double the size, totally different, full bar. In San Francisco, we just have beer and wine. This will have a full bar. So, do you want to know? Are you ready to come? You're going to have to come and check it out for yourself. You know you will.
I know that tonight you've been watching, and we've been talking about the challenges that arise when setting up a business, and this is something that's very common. It's not just things that we experience, but many. We've met many business owners who've given up, and my biggest suggestion I can recommend to you is keep going. Don't give up.
Looking back on my idea about yogurt, I think, what was I thinking? Yeah, no. But I really want to stay with the pizza. But at the same time, it wasn't easy. It all takes practice. And the yogurt was very good practice. I mean, think about the practice involved in yogurt. You pull the lever, you get it round in the cup, and then you have to cut it off at the right place. And I think, what if I had to do that again and again and again? Maybe I would take the same journey. Maybe I wouldn't. But if I hadn't taken that journey, I would not be standing here and be talking with you this evening.
So again, if you haven't made it out to the restaurant quite yet, please consider doing so. And DC, we're opening spring 2020. We hope to see you there.